Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. It is your creepy, weird, creative makeup artist friend, Cat Sketch, to bring you another makeup effects video. If you're new to this channel, we do beauty makeups, effects videos, body paintings while telling some really creepy stories all year round, not just on Halloween. So subscribe because I do videos every Monday and Friday. So subscribe for future videos because today we are going to turn into our own version of Twilight. What if we were in a movie? What if we were just bitten? As you can tell, I have red eyes today, so let's get started. I even have some vampire fangs for the occasion. That came busted. Oh, and of course, I'm going to talk about really creepy, real-life vampire history stories that are written articles by journalists who are researching vampires or people that think they are vampires in real life that exists. And funny thing is, so when me and my boyfriend first got together and we were dating, I guess we were dating for a couple, doing long distance for a little while. We were gonna move in together and we had to go through Louisiana, which I'd never been. I was trying to tell his family that in Louisiana there's real life vampires, and they all thought that I was crazy probably, or that I was just weird or joking, but no, I've heard about this. There are people out there that think that drinking blood somehow benefits them and they actually try to attempt it. Can't you get diseases from that? Are they still thriving during COVID? I have so many questions, so we're gonna read up on it. It's gonna be wild, hopefully. As wild as this theory and thought even sounds. I'm prepping my skin for very light foundation. I actually got a whole bunch of concealers from ColourPop that are way too light for me, so perfect. So the claims are that real vampires do exist, and there's about 5,000 of them thriving in the United States of America. The US of A, where I currently reside. Wow, that's so light. We're getting places. That is ghostly, but I mean, we're turning to a vampire. I'm reading from an article and findings by a person named John Edgar Browning, so it's basically from his point of view. And he said he met his first vampire in a goth apparel store. I mean, seems hopeful. He was a doctoral candidate at Louisiana State University at the time, and he was already on the hunt for vampires for several months. So he was a true believer. He was giving Mulder and Scully from X-Files a run for their money. Gosh, I wish they had an episode about that, did they? Now I want to rewatch all of X-Files. He was talking to the store owner of Wicked Orleans, a gothic style store of clothing and leather in New Orleans French quarters, when a middle-aged woman and two teenage boys walked into the doors of the store. And while he was talking to the store owner, store owner actually stopped mid-sentence and told him those are the people that he was inquiring about and looking for. Those are the exact kind of people he's trying to spot. Nervously, he approached the woman and tried to ask her about his studies in ethnographic, which is real vampire studies. To be clear, these ethnographic studies aren't people who have supernatural powers, who are like the vampires we read about and see in Hollywood movies, like how we associate with Count Dracula, rather than individuals who think they have a medical condition that requires them to drink blood, human or animal, in order to sustain themselves. Now I'm going to use a lot of cream contour in this look and for veins and everything, so I'm just using a little bit of translucent powder to set my under eyes so they won't crease, because I'm going to do some creams. Again, this is the Danessa Myricks Evolution Powder. It's probably one of the best translucent powders I've ever used in my eyelids too. I just made my own contour cream shade with some gray cream paint and some like regular brown or darker skin tone contour cream. Mix those two to get this. But members of this community have chosen to categorize themselves as vampires in defiance of the negative images that this label invokes in people. Did this person know anyone that resembles this description? The woman smiled at Browning. When she smiled, her lips opened to reveal teeth that had been filed down to a fine point. Browning had an interview with the Washington Post, and he called this his first time, I'm guessing, being in contact with vampires. And the woman never gave him a call like she had promised him, but he did come in contact with vampires again at a nightclub. Several weeks after that, he met up with an elder vampire who invited him to attend a meeting of the New Orleans Vampire Association called Nova. Browning, who had been studying vampires his entire life, looking at films, descriptions, books, thought that there would be something deranged about people that call themselves vampires in real life, who saw themselves fitted for the horror movie character, then in a historic district of Louisiana. Pervasive vampire lore, from the old tales of Count Dracula to the newer versions of Twilight, has made these beings to seem as bloodthirsty villains that are deeply rooted in supernatural. You know, because I thought it was just going to be people that like to go to a certain cosplay area that drink blood-themed beverages and red foods with food coloring, but it's a little more than that apparently. Am I dissing the Dracula vampire community saying these things? I hope not. I feel like I need to put concealer over my lips to make them smaller and so that the blood stains will show up better as well. If you're looking for a palette that's great for blushes, cool tones, warm tones, mixing everything to make your own contour shades that's personalized and all that, I would suggest the Lunatic Cosmetic Labs contour books. This is the volume 1, they have a volume 2. Their products are amazing. I keep rebuying. Their translucent powder is good too. So that's what I'm gonna contour more of my face with. But Browning had said in 2009 that the only vampire studies area he hadn't approached was actual real life vampires. Like get the guts to actually hunt them down, seek them out, and like interview any of them. And subconsciously he saved this area of study for last because he thought to himself, what a crazy like group of people. He thought they'd be people that just read too much fan fiction about vampires, like what I was thinking just now. I'm just highlighting certain parts with the matte white in my contour book. You really want your brows, well, I'm gonna do so my brows are like more protruded to look more male actually than feminine. And then I'm gonna do some contour of wrinkles and stuff of the transformation of the vampire, because we're gonna do some veining, bite marks, all that jazz. I really wanna push this to a realistic vampire as much as I can. Browning's skepticism led him to a 5-year field study on vampires to study among the vampires in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Nolans? Surveys conducted in the Atlanta Vampire Alliance have found that there are around 5,000 people that call themselves real vampires within the US. I'm just using all contour shades from the cool side of this eyeshadow, well, contour book. Browning said that there's around 50 vampires in New Orleans alone. And he says this figure is a guess that's most common amount of vampires within major cities. These communities of people largely keep to themselves, knowing enough about public perception to not want or attract any wandering eyes from the public. I mean, I feel like vampires aren't known for blush, but I need a little blush. Come on, I don't want to look totally lifeless. Browning realizes that his research might provoke some vampires and it's rarely discussed in everyday life, but I guess he's willing to take that chance. I'm just adding some brown tones around my eyes. I'm using Boss Lady. I love this color. It's like a brick purpley brown red in my crease. This is from the Melt Impulse palette. But Browning's original belief was that there must be something wrong with these people, but then he started to get to know them. After a short period of time, he realized that they weren't crazy. That sounds fabulous. These vampires became reliant on ingesting blood, and if they didn't keep up with it, they found themselves drained for no discernible reason at all, which is highly weird. Maybe it was like all in their head, I don't know. But I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. They said that they first discovered this when they would accidentally bite their lip and discover the benefits that blood gave them. This metallic flavored liquid, when they bit their lip, going through their teeth and their lips, would give them a sudden burst of energy, they claimed. They said not all vampires must drink blood to survive, but those that do are called, I'm gonna butcher this, Sanguarians, simply because they derive strength from taking other people's energy. And this could also be from instant human touch. For their unorthodox habits, they said to feed is to take blood and to give blood is to donate. Being awake or coming out of the coffin is described to better know or understand their identity for themselves. And elder vampires have been awakened for some time and give advice to other vampires. 1 year into his findings, this is crazy, Browning decided to become a donor himself for these vampires. What? During one of Nova's holiday events for charity, he became a donor, and they do some of these charity events to feed the homeless. He met with one vampire who left the turkey he was cooking. Browning said each one of them had a different method. Some vampires would use a disposable scalpel to make a prick in his back and use their fingers to extract and push out some of the blood. The vampire would put his mouth over Browning's wound and drink from it 2 or 3 times before cleaning up Browning's wound. Browning said that the pricking hurt only because he's a needle phobe. Same here. I could never do this, have a stranger drink my blood, ever. Some others might donate their blood to the vampires because maybe they became close friends with some of the vampires. Some of them do it for financial compensation or sexual favors. They approach the potential donors after discussing it with them for some time, and they observe them for some time too, making sure that there's someone who's not going to freak out over this whole crazy situation. It's still crazy to me. Maybe because I'm just reading it and I'm not there doing the research in person, but it just sounds crazy. But I mean, what's the definition of crazy? Maybe talking to yourself in the room while trying to turn yourself into a vampire might be crazy too, because I'm just a room doing that as we speak, because I have to film this alone before I send it to y'all, my friends. Some of these vampires that he met with said that they can't control their urges, and sometimes they store and refrigerate blood samples, and that they combine it with other things and other ingredients such as tea. A girl named Kanisha says she's a blood drinker or a vampire, but it's not by choice, she told BBC. But she says the symptoms is what she does just to be happy, to try to live a normal life of happiness is why she does it. A girl named Alexia in the UK says if the cause of what I am doing to become a vampire can be identified and that there was a pill for it, that she would just take the pill. Most vampires keep this away from their doctors because they are wary of the stigma that it comes with. But those who have known to disclose their habits haven't been given any type of medical advice or explanation for it. I'm just gonna use some alcohol paint to do some veining on my face, almost like taking control of me, the vampire-like qualities. But if you don't have this, because they're pretty pricey, you can only get it from Makeup Effects Pro stores. You could definitely use like watered down, not watered down, but like light cream, like a light of hand cream paint or lipstick. A vampire named CJ even said, what if this is all in their heads? But then there have been some vampires who stopped that met scary consequences, he said. One of the vampires says she went 4 months without feeding, and she ended up in the emergency room with a low heart rate, and the heart rate would shoot up to 160 when she walked around. This would be followed by a massive migraine and sometimes a loss of a subconsciousness. Browning said he found one woman who was unable to go to work or a walk after not ingesting blood for quite some time. But when her husband came to a hospital visit for her while she was in the hospital, her husband came and let her drink from his blood and she felt better immediately. It's so hard to do this like in a webbing type pattern is what I'm doing to make it look more like natural, real vein patterns. Have to have hand-eye coordination, detail, and a light hand, steady hand at that. Though the thought of modern day vampires is scary to most, Browning definitely says that most of the vampires he encountered in New Orleans were very friendly. Using the foundation to go over some of the vein marks to make it look like it's under the skin, more natural. He says the more he went to the Nova meetings for the vampires, it seemed more natural to him, almost like he was visiting a coffee shop, like to see friends. Browning said that being marginalized, these vampires were more self-aware of their identity and the world surrounding them than most other people. And honestly, I'm sure it feels great to be in a community of people and feel like people relate to you that aren't just everyday normal people. Some gay men said that they even relate to the condition that the vampires have, even though there's no real factual evidence, medical evidence to back it up. Being a gay man himself, Browning said that he could also identify because it's not like scientists could take his blood and tell people he's gay, and just like they can't really scientifically tell these people that they're vampires. But that doesn't mean it's not real. He said he found the vampire community in the French Quarter mostly Caucasian and some Latino. And they ranged from the ages of 18 to 50. Yes, that's it. Men and women of all different backgrounds and religious backgrounds too, in the vampire community. Some vampires say the stigma of being a vampire has affected their quality of life when it comes to healthcare. The stigma of individuals affects what healthcare they get. But there wasn't much psychiatric issues with the self-identified vampires. Browning believes that if we talk more about real vampires amongst people, that it will be less stigmatized and more normalized, and the hard-hitting questions can be answered. Browning also thinks it's a great conception of what is normal to bend that, or what people see as normal. In Browning's findings, in the 5 years of studying, he found that most vampires are considered normal. They have regular jobs, families, spouses. They just have this one identity of being considered a vampire. Some wear gothic attire, prosthetic fangs, and others have no specific open and wear anything that makes anyone think that they're a vampire. And funny enough, when he mentioned True Blood, none of the vampires knew what he was talking about, and they weren't really like into fan fiction stuff that he actually thought from the beginning. So that's pretty interesting. I'm gonna go put on some fangs and I'll be right back. And just like that, we added some teeth and some sparkles. I have a list now with these teeth. I'm sure they had better teeth in Twilight because I don't remember them having lists, even though I've seen some of the movies. But I hope you guys liked my version. What if I was in Twilight vampire look? If you want to recreate this for Halloween and the stories behind real life vampires that walk among us. And no, I do not identify as a real vampire. This is just for Halloween makeup fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. All the products I used in this video will be listed down below in the description box as always. Subscribe for more videos. I do videos every Monday and Friday here on this channel talking about creepy stories while doing beauty makeups, effects makeups, and stuff like that. Getting ready for the Halloween season. Leave a comment down below on what other makeup looks you would love to see this Halloween season for me to recreate to help you guys get ready for spooky season. I love you creators, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay spooky. Bye.